But there was a really good article. Oh, shoot.
I'll do it.
Dave,
I'll do
can
it.
you put those in the link, in the chat link while I'm doing this?
Yep.
In the chat link are these two articles from Deloitte, and it's about resiliency and recovering from COVID. And Damon asked me to do it because in my business, I live in the world of uncertainty, but are guided by optimism. And really, that's what we're seeing now. We're all muddling through new, uncharted territories and figuring stuff out as we go. So there's two articles. It'll only take you a week to read them, but they were really, really good. And there's sort of a concentration around leadership. So this succinct little title here: Resilient Leaders Shift Organizational Mindsets, Navigate Uncertainties, and Build Trust in order to develop a recovery playbook that serves as a solid foundation for the post-COVID future. Well, luckily, that paragraph is a pretty succinct agenda for the article. So I'm just going to run off all those different little points and talk about the article. But again, it's centered around people like us that are the leaders of the organization, because everybody is looking to us for support, conviction, confidence. Everything starts at the top and runs down through our staff and out to the customers. And basically the attitude that we have is what they're going to resonate with. So if we're chicken and scared, our clients and customers are going to feel that. But if we're comfortable and confident, then they will feel that as well. So let's see, advance through source here. What makes a resilient leader? Again, there's a lot of debate over this, but this Deloitte article was able to put down some key points. And as leaders, in whether it's our business or we're just managing a piece of an organization, we're put in place to perform. We have a job to do, and we've got to be productive. But in these times, we've also got to be empathetic, because people, Michelle, for example, I'll probably use her a few times, she's had to completely uproot herself from the office, set up at home as I have. But it's a different thing if you are the employee and not the one driving things. So I've got to be really empathetic to the fact that she had to set up an office at home. So we outfitted her with a big printer and new computer and all that stuff, which from my point of view, again, there's two ways to look at it. You think, okay, well, they're working from home. They don't have to travel. I'm paying all this office cost, but shit, I got to make sure she's got good Wi-Fi. She's got a reliable computer. She's comfortable and safe. So before, we can't just beat performance out of people. We've got to empathize with their situation. I know she's got two young kids at home, one of which needs a little extra help. So at the end of last year, she was really torn between the ability to still help me with the business, but look after her family, because she's not a teacher. And let's all be frank here. We've got businesses to run so that we can support our family. But in times of crisis, we come right back to the important things, and that's the safety and comfort of our own family. So as leaders, we've got to be conscious of the empathy towards our staff and our customers, but also we've got to drive some growth. What we saw in March and April was a complete chaos, and we had to essentially slip into a triage mode where, okay, they're looking to us for advice, but there's so many things going on. You got to prioritize the important things so that we can survive, and we've got to communicate those. March and April, I spent my whole time on the phone talking to clients and just giving everybody hope that, you know, we've seen this before. It will pass. In my world, that is one of the common themes that we see. There's always something looming down on the horizon, but you can't get paralyzed by that. We've got to go forward. Third thing that they talked about was getting stuff done. Like perfection is the, what'd they say? Perfection is the I don't know, it was not good to productivity. So perfection is the killer of that. So when things get, uh, we're in a crisis, you've got to make quick decisions. Don't worry about being perfect. You don't have to put it to a committee. You don't have to take a vote. Just make a decision and run with it. And then you worry about the little things afterwards. It's important that we communicate this stuff. Owning the narrative is communicating that to all the stakeholders, because nobody knows what's going on in my mind from one point to another. But if we communicate that effectively, then it's going to follow through. You've got to tell the truth, be transparent, but put a positive spin on it. Again, if I was to go to a client and say, oh, you give me some money and I might make it grow, I might lose it all, I'm going to go out of business really, really fast. But again, if there's optimism and a plan, then people feed off that confidence. But again, you've got to be truthful. You can't make stuff up. But again, there's a glass half full and there's a glass half empty on everything. As the leaders, we naturally will feel some anxiety, but just don't display that to the people that rely on us. And the big thing is, again, in my world, look at the big picture. If you're learning to drive, you don't look at the hood ornament because you're going to run into everything. But if you look far down the road at your goal, all the little things pass. You miss them. And with your eye on the prize, as they say, then we can get things done without being caught up in the minutia, the obstacles, sort of thing like that. So now that we know how to be a good leader, we're going to switch. Again, March, April, and even into May, I was in respond mode. Even though we've seen things like this before, the environment with which we work, play, eat, live had all changed. So when things are unexpected, you've got to step back and respond. Got to keep the wheels on the road, or the train on the tracks, as they say. And that is very different than being productive. I think by this time we've now all got sort of a feeling of what to do when things are really stressful, and we're starting to come out of that. So we've got to really shift our mindset from being self-sufficient and surviving into recovering and growing. Again, we're all in this business, or we all own businesses so that we can grow, not just maintain a certain level. We've got to grow, and that environment is new. Again, we've talked a number of times about me setting up at home. I'm conducting all of my meetings from here, and it is just a new way of doing things. Most people are receptive to it, but again, others need a little guidance. They're looking to us for that. Again, if I set up a Zoom meeting, say, oh, well, this is the only thing I've got available, versus, okay, I got a little office set up at home. I got all the information there. We can do a Zoom contact. I can see you and your wife. We'll be done in 40 minutes. That's, again, same message, but just in a different spin. Let's see, what else we got here? In these uncertainties, the only thing for certain is uncertainty. And everything's changed. Again, the way we interact socially has changed. I mean, WTF is with WFH. We don't even know what that looks like, but we've got to set the rules. There's nobody with a textbook of how to do this. We are inventing it as we go, and everything is different. The way that I interact with clients, the way our meetings are run, everything is different. The financial markets are different. The government has pumped so much money into keeping these markets buoyant and us comfortable, but we've also got to look into the future, because somebody's going to pay for that. And I think our kids' will never pay for that fully. So things are changing, and we've got to sort of run a Monte Carlo scenario to be able to adapt no matter what happens going forward. And again, this comes into buying behavior. Other than Canadian Tire and Home Depot and a quick run to Golf Town, I haven't been into a store or a mall in 6 months. Yet the Amazon, UPS, and what's the other one? Not FedEx, but that other delivery thing are here almost every day for one of us. Even Kenzie is shopping through that stuff now, just gets it delivered to Hamilton. So each of our businesses are different, but we've got to embrace that style and be ready for an electronic delivery. And then all of that, as I mentioned earlier, it keeps circling back to our personal safety. If we can't feel comfortable and safe in the things that we're doing, then nobody's going to do any business with us. So again, all of these new facets that we've got to somehow understand. There is no perfect storm, as we were looking at one of the other slides. Don't worry about being perfect. Just get the job done, and you can clean up anything that gets missed along the way. It is no secret that trust is a key to a relationship. Actually, I wrote down a really cool quote here about trust, and they define trust as a tangible exchange of value. Has no value in its isolation, but represents value when you're interacting with others. And that's so true. Again, if there's nobody, we can be the most trustworthy person in the world, but if we don't have anybody to share it with or interact with, then it doesn't matter. As we go through our life, our trust is accretive, but it takes one occurrence to ruin all of that trust that you've built up over the years. And that trust is the key to the relationship that you have and generating new ones. But it's not just, trust isn't just telling the truth. There's a bunch of different facets to it. Being emotional, one of them. Again, looking at staff, they've got to be comfortable that they can go to work, be productive, and still go back to their families and be safe, not bring something into the house. Financial stability, again, resonates with my business because I'm in the business of making sure that my clients are stable and it's sustainable going forward. So even though that is a burden that I bear personally and stresses out, I've got to be able to communicate that, because if the clients don't know that I care about it and I feel comfortable with it, somebody else has to just come along with a little story or some comfort or confidence, and boom, they're going to follow. So as leaders, it is our job to communicate the things that we're doing. It's not just, okay, the actions will speak for themselves. We've got to tell people what we're doing. Physical protection is another big one that we just didn't have before. I never thought about shaking hands or coughing or any of that stuff. But now, geez, even watching TV or going out, where was I earlier this week, and saw everybody with a mask on. It still freaks me out, but you have to do it. I've got masks in the car, I got masks at the thing. When I eventually open the office, I'm going to have those. And we've got to, again, we're obliged to have things like that in the office. I am not set up for clients in the office yet because I don't have plexiglass. Got to have sanitizer and all that stuff. I'm not ready for that. And the fourth one is where Hewlin comes in with the digital side of things. Now that we're all sort of embracing this digital age, more and more information is sent to home. We've got to safeguard that. Like, I've got firewalls and VPNs and some special damn network that I have to sign on to everything. Now when I send out statements, they've all got to be encrypted. And this is all new because we're working away from our central hubs. And if somebody breaks into my stuff, I've got to pay for creditor monitoring. I had a client send me a letter maybe last week, could have been the week before, about creditor monitoring. And she was talking about it initially. I said, that sounds like a scam. And she sent it to me, and a timeshare place that she dealt with got breached. So they had to pay for a year of creditor monitoring for her. So I said, yeah, sign up for it. You've been leaked, so you got to watch out for this stuff. And our clients, they don't only want it to have us to have it, they expect it. If I didn't have that kind of security and I was looking after personal information for people here, and I didn't have the security, at that point, you're stupid for dealing with me. But rest assured, I am safe with that stuff. But again, this is all part of a new world, things that are completely different. Our race to technology has increased, I don't know how many times, but it's a lot more important than it was before. It's more than just carrying around a phone to get a call from your wife to pick up milk. So within those four, we all have different focuses with our business. Again, I'm going to be financial. Sean's going to be probably digital, and you choose which ones are more important. You can't overlook any of them. But one of the things that we've got to do is communicate what we're doing to the clients. If we don't, somebody else is going to do it, and we're just going to lose our business. The final point was a funny one because it says, how do you measure your success in building the trust? And that's tough. Just like everything else in COVID, just try and figure it out. Guess. That's what everybody else is doing. But at least give it a try. Because if you don't try, then you're going to succeed at failing 100% of the time. The next 6 slides. How am I doing for time here? Oh, what is it, Damon? 10 more minutes?
You're good for time.
Okay. I'm just going to read through the next 6 slides rather than read through each one of these things. But once we've embraced the fact that we are the drivers, we are the leaders, whatever we say and do is going to filter down into the culture of the business and dictate the success with the clients, we've got to have a roadmap or a plan. And again, second part of the article, and the second article laid out these 6 little steps. First one being recover and grow revenue. So March and April, we were in survival mode. And most of us have seen some kind of drop in revenue. Now is the time that we're through survival mode. It's time to recapture what we've lost and look at expanding. Could mean different things for different people. We acquiring businesses to help ours grow, or are we just in maintenance mode, or are we sort of an organic growing type thing? I have opportunities to buy books, but I'd rather generate it myself than do that other thing. But again, that is a huge part of my business that I could look at if generating it organically wasn't the right thing to do or wasn't working well. And our customers, they've all changed. Every single one of us has changed in our behavior, the way that we think about things, the way we interact with people, and most importantly, how we feel safe. So within our recovery, we've got to look for opportunities. Again, masks. Who would have thought making a mask on your sewing machine was going to be a source of revenue? And you go around anywhere now, and nobody has the same mask. It's not just this sterile 3M mask. There's pictures and stuff all over them. Tanya was giving she's running a conference in a couple of weeks, and she went out to pick up these masks that they had designed and stuff like that. So there's new avenues for creating revenue. Sean, I would think cybersecurity has gotten really, really important. So again, there's with every door that closes, a window opens somewhere. So we've got to look for those, actively look for those. Nobody's going to come knocking on our door and say, oh, here's the next thing you got to do. We've got to identify what the clients need, what other people are doing, and be the first one there. You're the last one there, you might as well be out of business. And we got to forecast. Again, here's one that just guess. Nobody knows what it's going to look like, but have a few different options, like a Monte Carlo scenario, so that you're prepared. Again, Dana and I playing Frisbee golf or regular golf. You don't just walk around with one club. You got to be prepared for a bunch of different shots. and carry a sand wedge in case you get in a sandwich. You hope you don't use it all game, but you need it there. Otherwise, you're screwed if you don't have it. Some of the other things that we can do is look at now increasing our margins and our profitability. In survival mode, quite often we're looking just at the next day. Okay, what do I need to survive the next day? And sometimes that would mean giving up some of your high profit margin lines to do things to just build your base, keep everybody confident. So now that we're looking at what to do going forward, try and integrate things that are of a higher margin, that are higher profit, less work for you. And we just adjust that way. Is this the one? No, one of the next slides is a good one. Here's one again that relates to me. Growth assets are typically the things that grow our net worth the most, but quite often they are illiquid. So in times of crisis, a lot of times we've got to bow down to that king being cash. And as we look forward for a year and a half or 2 years, liquidity is king. And if we can't survive, then we're going to go out of business. The guy that cuts my hair, we were talking, I was there last week, and he said if they shut down again on day one, he's closing his doors because he knows by the end of the month he's just going to be broke. He's had the business for probably 15 years, something like that, in the same spot. But they run on such thin margins, and obviously all of his wealth is in the infrastructure of the business, which is very, very illiquid. You might have seen me write out that email for the guy that used to cut my hair that died of cancer earlier. His wife, she doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. So they've got quite a lot of wealth tied up in the business. She can't even find somebody to take over it, let alone buy it. So again, you might have to adjust some of those assets temporarily. If you don't, and you've got the capital, it's a really good time to pick up some illiquid assets at a discount from somebody that needs a little bit of help. Digital transformation. We've been in the digital age for years now, but some of us old dinosaur people didn't adopt it because I still like writing things on paper. I still looking at a physical calendar, like to go and shake hands and see somebody face to face. If we don't embrace technology, somebody's going to do it before us, and again, we're going to lose the business. So this is again a race to the new norm. And a lot of times there's cost savings. Tanya and I don't understand this, she just hired or bought a robot for doing some kind of data stuff. Again, I don't fully understand that. What I do understand, though, is one of her employees, she just freed up 40% of the time that she uses every day doing this data, blah, 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 blah. And the robot does it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this person can now be more proactive in another area that has obviously changed in their business. So the cost savings has been huge, and she can now refocus this employee to do something more productive in the new world. So again, just adapt. This isn't the one. It's the one talking about profits. I don't know, I lost it in there somewhere, but I want everybody to write this down. P equals R minus E. And that, Billy, even you can't contest. That is the basic formula for profits. You've got revenue minus your expenses. And most people, now again, owning a business, we've got the ability to adjust our revenue and hopefully grow it. But employees, somebody that's a salaried employee, they've got no control over their revenue. So one of the strategies I use is if you can, you want to maximize your take home or your profit, you can't control your revenue, you can only control your expenses. So that's where we look at tax efficient investing. And if you pay less tax, which is likely your biggest expense of anything, in life is going to be taxed, then you're going to have more profit for you. So that example with Tanya hiring a robot, their business just became more profitable because they reduced expenses in one area. Revenue stayed the same, but that bottom line profit was able to grow. So again, something that we've got to look at. I've already reached out earlier this week to another team of advisors in Burlington to combine our offices next November when our lease comes up. Because again, these guys, I trust them. They're all good people to work with. But if I can cut my office costs from $2,500 a month to $1,500 a month, I haven't done any more work, but my profit just went up by $12,000 a year. And you don't have to be a genius to figure out that that's a good move. Fifth one, I think the final point is managing second to last point, supporting the workforce. Again, I rely very heavily on Michelle, and just like with Tanya, when she's happy, then my life goes good. So again, getting her a new computer and taking the big printer scanner thing from the office, setting it up at her place, makes her feel comfortable. I know she likes working from home. Again, there's times where I've got her working really hard, and there's times that I know she's out sitting by the pool. But we're in a different world now. I don't have to sit over her shoulder and see that she's physically at a station from 9 to 5. It's about getting stuff done, getting it done right, getting it done efficiently. So if it's done at 10 o'clock at night, makes no difference to me whether it's 10 o'clock at night or 6 in the morning. Again, barring trades or something like that. But the more we can support the employees, then the better the business is going to run. And again, communication. We've got to manage the expectations. And this is where the under promise and over deliver mantra comes in. My clients look for expectations. Michelle looks for expectations. Manulife looks for expectations from us. And without us communicating those, we're not in charge. So if we go back to the first slide and own the narrative, if we set the expectations, then we're in charge of it. If we wait for somebody else to give us the expectations, then we're backing up on our heels and may not be able to fulfill those expectations. So again, the whole article centered around being a good leader. So 15, 20 minutes in review. I'm going to skip to my last little slide here. So I actually wrote this down. Need my glasses though. Our world has seen a significant change this year. Not only as business owners have we needed to adapt, but we needed to survive. Not only do we need to embrace change, we need to communicate it with a positive attitude and an outlook to the people that depend on us. It's leaders that are going to set the true tone and determine the success and failure of an organization. I know each and every one of you on here. Let me scroll down. Yeah. Every single one of us can do that. That's why we're in this group together. There's no followers here. Every one of us is leaders. And this was a great article, again, to reinforce the fact that people are looking to us. And whatever we dictate is really what's going to happen. Go back to Grant's, what was that, The Secret. If we believe it, it's going to happen. If we don't believe it, it's also going to happen. So that's it. Any questions? Other than what's coming up next?
Just a quick comment, Tim, on your office. So Laser Age is a toner printer supplier. Terrible business to be in. I think in 10 years, it didn't make money. It made money, but it didn't make enough money. In the last month, we have had the most profitable month in 12 years. All the physical infrastructure is gone. The staff is gone. We don't have to house stuff anymore, right?
And everybody's ordering online.
Yeah, and we got one staff member making calls because our clients that we have are high touch and they don't want to order online. So they pay the premium, but like that infrastructure is gone. Like the costs are $226 a month for a storage unit for us. Like that's it. So
Great
yeah.
comment, because that's exactly what I was talking about. Find the new solution and just go there. You don't have to completely refocus. Just grab it while somebody's giving it to you.
So
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Sean, on that, like, you gave us that fancy formula that we wrote down, but so many people get focused on, the revenue line. People get so chase top line revenue without really contemplating how it flows to the bottom of your income statement, right? And to Sean's point, if you can get rid of revenue, but get rid of significantly more expense with it, then get rid of it. Like it's not a contest to go out and beat your chest and talk about how much revenue you make. It's profit. Like, what do you retain, right? And sometimes it's easier to manage the expense side. And I'm not a big proponent of managing expenses into the ground, but if you can trim some unnecessary expenses, the one thing that you don't talk about in that formula is time, right? So if you can get rid of crappy expenses you don't want to be paying, get some time back and make more money, like that's a pretty big win.
Yeah, that's why I said there was a simple formula. There's no existential shit in there.
He'll find a way to challenge it. I think it was a great topic because, to Tim's point, we're all leaders and we all run businesses, and we all know that, hey, when things are thin at the top line, we got to manage costs and keep profit rich, and we know these things. But what I think we might lose sight of sometimes, in the feedback we've heard from, whether it's been, Satish or Diana, sometimes have been saying, yeah, like my morale is down and I'm getting the blahs, and I felt it too personally. I think it's that, controlling the mindset, being that resilient leader and saying, it's not the end of the world, clearly. But I have to not be so overrun by the fact that everything has changed. There's still opportunity in that. There's still positivity in that. There's challenge in that, and we can rise to it. So I felt it was a good sort of two parts to the presentation, one being the whole attitude component of being the right type of leader, and then that 6-step playbook is really the, like, let's get down to brass tacks and, what do we actually do versus how to be and then how to do. So I guess my question might be for Chris. That was one of the topics that you were, asking for in the mix. You were looking for that kind of recovery stuff. Did this give value to you?
Yeah, it made a lot of sense, because you're thinking of the end result, like what's the quickest way to get to making more money, but then you start realizing, let's just focus on what you already have and try to it mixed with what Sean said. It's like making more money by accident, right? But you're sort of when you're in this business or in any business, and you're an entrepreneur, you're always thinking like, how do I make more money? And you're not thinking about how do I keep more money in my business, right? So, and then there's the point of focusing on clients that you already have. Just keep track and just try to let them know that you still know what you're doing, right? Like you're still the expert in your domain, and everything's going to be fine, because I really do think everything's going to be fine. I just feel like I think the public needs to be told everything's going to be fine. Like, okay, now I can spend money. Perfect. All right.
Media doesn't do that. Our newspapers, our newscasts, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't read. So
but they're telling you they need the eyeballs to look, right? And we look at every time you're on the 401, you're always looking at the car accident, and then that's what's keeping everybody else back, right? It's human nature.
But then if you look at the Some Good News thing, right? So John Krasinski started Some Good News. It was a fantastic series. He uses his pull. He sells it for, I don't know, $25 million to Comcast, and Comcast buried it. Right. Yeah. And then he got yelled at for selling out and stuff. I'm like, that was a brilliant piece. He was getting views. He was using his stuff, and it died because it's that same institutional thinking that means you must have an office to be successful, right? Like it's interest. So pitchers paid $100 million to get out of their lease. Like $100 million to get out of their lease.
But you're right, Chris. Like we sit here and we go, okay, I'm going to be okay. I can still, perform for my clients. I can still do good stuff, but we don't tell them that. And then they're wondering, are they okay? Can they still support me? So, absolutely communication is important. It's reinforcing for your own good attitude. But no, I think great information.
So like this week, we've been having issues with other vendors, with specifically venues are closing left, right, and center. So we've been getting phone calls from weddings for next year. Are you guys still in business? It's like, yeah, I literally talked to you last week. Oh, because everybody's closing around, It's like, no, we're still here. Like we're actually, moving forward pretty quickly, right? It's I think the problem we're having right now is if you own a business, you're ready to go. But if you are the one giving the business the money, you're sort of hesitant unless it's like a grocery store, right? Like they're making money like it's ridiculous right now what's going on in those places. But I think you have to. I try to tell my dad all the time is that you got to be patient, man. There's gonna be the floodgate's gonna open one day, and then you just have to be prepared. Just be calm, cool, and collected. We'll get it done.
Well, Tim,
I think.
fantastic. Great job.